Well, Steve, first of all, I think most supporters by now have heard or read about the plans for the Senior Training Centre and the redevelopment of the Academy. Just bring us up to speed with where we're at the moment, perhaps a little bit of background to the project as well.
Yeah, I suppose the background, Neil, is that obviously in 1993 Jack Walker acquired the land what I call down the hill, which is now being used by the Academy, but originally was the Senior Training Centre, which was the envy of all football clubs and a lot of clubs. Speaking to Rob Coe, who was chairman of the club at the time, saying that lots of clubs visited and said, wow, this is an unbelievable development. Obviously it attracted great players, and a couple of years later obviously won the Premier League, and then not being totally comfortable with that, Jack said we need to build an academy. So in 1998, the site we're now at doing this interview, the Senior Training Centre, was built as an academy. Again, state-of-the-art facility, brilliant acquisition for the club, brilliant development, and then that's how it stayed until Mark Hughes, I believe, in 2004-05 season. At the end of that season, he thought, I'd rather come up the top site. So he reversed, switched the sites, and it's been like this for the last 15 years. Fast forward, 2018, Tony Mowbray and his coaching staff were using what I call the show pitch 5 down the Academy. Liked the setup, very aesthetically pleasing, didn't have houses around it. So we looked at possibly reversing the site yet again, but because of some operational issues of pitches, etc., and some of the tweaks we had to do to the clubhouse in the Academy Centre, we thought, let's hold off a little bit, let's develop a coaching structure, and then let's try the dial to see if we could move to a new facility. So over the last couple of years, we've been developing a more integrated approach. We've just put in a new coaching plan where it's all about player development, with appointing new coaches for the foundation and development phase at the Academy. And now we thought was the time to possibly have a look at developing one state-of-the-art centre where all teams could be under one roof. All management, all coaches, all football players, young, developing and senior, all together under one roof, to have a fully integrated model. So what we decided to do was to put in 2 pre-planning applications, which at this stage is only trying to ascertain a principle of, if we were to build a state-of-the-art centre down at the Academy, to compensate as an integral part a Cat 1 Academy, which is essential, along with the senior training squad moving down there as well, or the senior playing squad rather, moving down there as well. Could we use this site, the current senior training centre, as a residential development site to cross-finance the development of the state-of-the-art centre down the hill? And that's where we're at. We're just trying to establish a principle. We've put 2 pre-planning applications into Ribble Valley Borough Council, and now it came out slightly earlier than I thought it would, to be honest, but we are where we are. So now we're moving towards a consultation process. We've spoken to the parish council. I've had discussions with other individuals, and now we're going to be opening up an official consultation period starting the 11th of March. And that is a very quick overview of the thought process behind what we're trying to achieve, which is a fully integrated model of player development from the academy through to under 23s through the first team under one roof, and also establishing a principle which, if that was to happen, could this site, the current senior training centre, be used as a residential site with up to 170 units.
How important is that engagement process with the local community?
It's absolutely vital, because obviously we understand, I think we all understand, that there'll be short-term disruption with any building that goes on in construction, but we've been an integral part of the village community for the last 27 years. We want to maintain that relationship. We want to enhance it if possible. So, I'm all about community integration. So if we establish the state-of-the-art centre down on the lower site, then obviously when the club's not using it, we could flip it into a health and well-being centre for the community to use. Try to work with the young people on the estate, try to interact more, try to give added value to the people who are on the village. So there has to be this consultation and a period where we respect everyone's opinion who live here. Constantly, we come here to work, other people are living, and we've got to understand that will create tension. So the consultation is vital as we go ahead with it.
And being open and allowing people access to the information as well. I believe there is a website being set up. That is all part of the process.
It's all part of the process. We're staying within the recommended guidelines of Ribble Valley Borough Council Planning Department. So as I say, there'll be a website set up. There'll be a consultation period between the 11th to the 19th of March, where we'll have to take on board all the views of all different individuals in the community of Brockhall and Langho as well. To see if we can come to some compromise position.
How much do you want everybody to be on board with this project, get behind it from the local element?
It's vital because obviously, I've done similar projects at other clubs, not on training ground but on stadia, and as soon as you announce that you're changing something, which means that there'll be disruption, there's obviously going to be negativity that ensues in the first stage. Then there's got to be a debate and a discussion is what does it actually mean? What will it actually bring to the area? What are I can see straight away what the benefits are to the club in terms of the football model, but what does it mean in the bigger macro environment, the people who live in the area? And that's where the consultation is absolutely key, to make sure that people understand, okay, for short-term disruption, is there a long-term benefit for enhancing the lives and pastimes within the village? We think there are. We'll explain that, and hopefully, if we can get some harmony amongst us all, then there may be a chance that this goes ahead.
Are you looking at long-term benefits for the football club as well? You've mentioned greater integration between the senior setup and the academy line. I think this club has always had that route through from bringing in their own youngsters, trying to progress them through to the first team. Do you feel this development will only further enhance that? Yeah,
it will, and the competition in football is immense. The whole Brexit and leaving Europe has taken we've developed a scout and recruitment system to include Europe, Thomas Kaminski being one of the products that we brought across of all the labour that we put in. But since Brexit, the market's contracted. All the Premier clubs are within the small pools that are around Europe now. So it's essential that we have up-to-date facilities, so that when we're bringing players in, we attract them, we retain them, and they come through the whole system. And it's so competitive. We visited Finch Farm, Everton's training ground, a couple of years ago, seeing their fully integrated site with academy, development squad and first team. Very impressive. The manager at the time, Marcus Silva, was discussing things with the head of academy, with the manager who was of the development squad, walking through one door to talk to another on the same pitches, pulling players across, everything you would dream of really in terms of that acceleration and focus on player development to bring through what Blackburn's done ever so well over the decades, to keep that going and to make sure that we focus on recruiting top young local and English and UK players into the club.
And football, is that just an industry where you have to be forward thinking, you have to look to improve constantly? Is it that kind of business that we're in?
I think it is. I think some people famous quotes as if you stand still, you're going backwards. These facilities are still very good facilities. They meet the basic needs of what we're doing, but they are split site. They're getting old, they're nearly 30 years old. Things are going wrong. So economically, we're starting to burn quite a bit of money on them, but we have to keep them going. We've put new technical rooms in. We've done various things where we're sitting now. The players' recreation room we upgraded. So I keep doing things, but it still doesn't fully integrate the departments together the way we want to. So I think it's an opportunity. I think personally it's exciting. I know there'll be tension. I know there'll be worries. It's usual. It's what happens it's our job as a club to allay the fears of those people and individuals in the community here in Brockhall, to say that it will benefit the club, but hopefully it'll benefit them as well.
Do you look forward to that opportunity to engage with the wider fan base then about any issues that they have?
Yeah, we probably would have done it earlier had we known it was going to come out into the public domain as it did last weekend. So apologies about not getting around the various groups I'd like to, but I've now got planned meetings with various supporter groups, with other key individuals and stakeholders. So we will start engaging fully over the coming weeks to make sure everybody's aware of what we're trying to achieve. And this is probably one of, we've had a really difficult year. We haven't had fans in the stadium. This weekend is near a year to the day since we played Swansea and we had supporters, and it seems a lifetime ago. So we're moving forward. There's been a slight, obviously, putting a brake on things because of COVID and what everyone's gone through over the last year. But behind the scenes, we've been working on developing a grant for the indoor centre, which we think is getting very close to being agreed and approved. So that'll move ahead. I'm into the last stage of a tendering process on Ewood pitch again. A pitch that's one of the oldest in the top 2 flights of football. Needs to be probably fully renovated, not like what we do each year where we do the top surface, which is fine. We weren't able to do that last summer, and if you look at all the grass pitches across the country, they're not in great shape, apart from those clubs in the Premier League who have what we call a stitch pitch, and that's what we want to try and acquire. So we're in the last tendering process of that, but it's another £2 million worth of finance I have to find. But that's an essential part if you want to play football in the way where we're trying to develop the DNA of the club. You need a pitch and a surface to do that. And also where we've been working with the Blackburn with Darwin Council on the local plan in making sure that Ewood becomes a destination through a range of mixed usage. And we're still developing that, talking about that, and pushing forward on a whole load of fronts to make sure that we can generate commercial income and revenue that we can then put on the pitch to try and compete with all these clubs who come out the Premier League with up to 40 million parachute payment. We had Watford the other evening, the squad they had, but Bournemouth and others. And because of the incredibly difficult year we've had, transfer windows have been challenging, injury levels have been high, players aren't getting released. So clubs who would normally, Norwich, Bournemouth, Watford, who've come out the Premier League last season into the Championship, they would probably have sold a lot more players. Now you're facing nearly a full Premier League squad because they couldn't offload because of the way the market had contracted. So it's been a real difficult time, but behind the scenes we're still pushing ahead on all these different fronts. We have to keep progressing the club. We have to be very attractive to keep attracting young players and senior players to the club, and to try to make us as competitive as possible going forward.
Finally, on the STC and the Academy redevelopment, is there a time scale on that project?
No, we can't put a definite timeline on it. It'll be when the economics of the club allow us to do so. But in principle, I want to have the pre-application planning approved, so that we're in a state to go in readiness as in when we have the finance to back the move. So I can't give a definitive date, but I just want to be in a position of readiness so we can move forward when appropriate to do so.